Well, it's the second week of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Alienware, and this is, of course, the first day, Friday. I'm joined right now by Tactical from Team Liquid, who is live from the Alienware training facility, live in this interview, but the interview itself is not live. How's it going, Tactical?
It's going pretty well. We just won against LG after a kind of a scary early game, but we pulled through and then won fast after that.
Yeah, why do you think the early game went the way that it did?
Well, Jetson died level 1 mid, I died in 2v2 bot lane, and then they got a herald for free because they had no vision on it. It was like they got stuff and we didn't react anything or get anything out of it in trade. So that's probably why it was kind of scary.
When I interviewed Jensen last week, he seemed to express frustration over the fact that Team Liquid was still making a lot of I think I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like dumb mistakes, right? It's like, why are we still like, obviously a lot of people think you guys might be the best team in the league or at least up there with C9. So why is it that you guys continue to make mistakes that perhaps are a little silly?
I think those silly mistakes keep happening because even though we might make these mistakes sometimes, we still end up winning the game. So
So you need to
maybe
start
it's just like
losing for making these silly mistakes, and then it'll force you to confront them.
perhaps. Obviously, we don't want to be keep making these mistakes. But I also think it's because everyone has a lot of ideas, and since there's so many ideas going around, we might not be completely synced up on what we want to do as a team. So like someone will go for something and then be like the conditions were not the same as like they thought they were compared to someone else's point of
Gotcha.
view. Um, yeah, it's just everyone has a lot of different ideas. They try to make their own plays and be creative.
Well, since we're a while into the season, I thought I would change tact a little bit for some of my interviews and ask a lot of my guests about things that they do outside of League of Legends. My problem is, I just did this with FBI, who was also at the shoot that you and I were at back in November, December for the Riot thing. And I recall now that when you and I were talking and I was asking you what you do outside of League of Legends, you do like nothing outside of League of Legends. You have no other interests. Um,
Yes.
so let's just talk about what you do in your free time because it's still League of Legends related. What do you do?
So nowadays I've been trying to do something less league related just because I think it's beneficial for me.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. So sometimes I will just watch streams, maybe non-league streams sometimes. Just recently, sometimes I play Valorant with some friends. Because I think that it's fine to have at least one other game that I play because League is all I do, and it's not always good to think about one thing all the time. Um, and I guess that's it. I don't really do other stuff.
Well, what
Used
was
to
it? Because when we talked, and again, it wasn't too many months ago. It was, I think like 2 months ago. You were like only League all the time. So what was it that made you think like, oh, I should probably find some other stuff?
Well, there are some times throughout my career, sometimes it happened recently where it feels like I get burnt out kind of. I'm not sure why, but I think I'm someone who gets stressed or does not deal with stress really easily. And it actually happened last week. It was really bad towards the third game of the weekend versus FlyQuest, I believe. I was kind of on autopilot the whole game, and I think ever since the lock-ins finished, my performance has not been like great, where I'd like it to be. So after that lock-ins finished, I think I'm trying to pay more attention to my energy levels and then trying to make sure I'm more at the top of the game because definitely like overall recently, all I say is I'm tired all the time compared to the beginning of lock-ins where like I was coming fresh off the break and then I had more energy. But I think that's probably why my performance or in my head, my performance went down a little bit or like making random mistakes. So after that happened, I realized I have to make a change and maybe this will help me.
Did you talk to anybody at Team Liquid about it?
Yeah, they've been helping me talk to people and people will give me advice and I want to try to follow up on them and see how much it helps.
Maybe if you're comfortable, you can talk to me a little bit about how it went down because I'm actually very interested in this, right? Because you're a relatively new player to the LCS, obviously not a rookie anymore, but I'm curious. So like after lock-in, you're like, oh, I'm really tired. I'm not always feeling it. And then who is it at Team Liquid that you approached about this, or did they approach you and say like, hey, what's up?
So it's always been kind of thing where I kind of like put my brain in league or focus mode like all the time. And eventually it just like the energy starts going away and I feel completely like exhausted mentally and physically, even though I don't move around. Um, the team kind of knew since like last year. It's like a something that happens that it just shows up for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of weird to me too because I was checking last week when I was feeling burnt out. How many solo games I played compared to every other LCS AD carry. And I've actually played one of the least, which doesn't make sense to me in my head because I'm playing less than them, but I already feel more tired or out of energy. And I don't know why. I kind of hate that because wanting to play League during the season would be nice all the time. Mm. And I talked to Dodo, I talked to Chad about this kind of stuff, even Cold. So like all the staff is pretty much aware, and they just help me like get resources to like try to help me out.
Nice. That's really cool. I mean, obviously not cool that you're burnt out, but it's a neat thing to hear that at least they are identifying it at this time in the season, because I know I've heard of this. Obviously, you're not the first player to feel burnt out or just drained, and oftentimes it happens around major events like MSI and Worlds and stuff. So catching it early, I think, is good. I'm glad to hear that people are giving you some connection. So you're now doing some other stuff to kind of unwind. What you said you're playing Valorant with friends? Are they like League friends, or are these like old school friends of yours, or who are these folks?
Um, they're kind of like League friends, but like they're within like maybe the esports slash streamer scene, but they're like not primarily into League.
Okay.
They're just like
Anyone
with
I would
different
know?
friend group. Maybe it's from she manages offline TV, Yvonne.
Oh yeah, I know Yvonne. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I used to play with like that group, like some just friends and stuff.
That's cool. It's neat to hear. I mean, it sounds. You said you used to play with them, so it sounds like maybe you're able to reconnect with them now.
Yeah, through a
Yeah.
different game.
Well, that's it's definitely interesting to hear that this is something that you're approaching and you're learning. What streams are you watching? Because you said you're watching a lot of streams, not always League of Legends streams. And I know we talked about some of them last year, but I don't know if you're still watching the same ones.
Sometimes I'll watch like XQC. I think he's really like not all the time, just like when I really feel like I want to see someone be like really Pepega.
Yeah.
Um, I like to watch like my friends' streams anytime. I like to watch sometimes I like watching Arrow stream because it's Korean solo queue and he's usually high rank in Korea. And I think that's it.
Would you say you're an XQC fan?
I can't consider myself a fan. I'm not
Okay.
invested enough to consider myself a fan, I think.
Okay. Okay. But you enjoy his content a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think he knows this?
Probably not. He probably doesn't even
Okay.
know who I am.
Well, hopefully he'll learn from this interview, and then he'll realize that one of the greatest ADCs in the LCS right now is a viewer of his, not a fan, but a viewer.
Hmm.
Very good. All right. Well, it's good to touch base. I always enjoy learning about sort of what is aspects of you that are not playing League of Legends, right? Because I think a lot of fans and people might know you only from like, oh, tactical is really good, but I think more and more it's important that we sort of highlight some of the interests and passions of the players that are outside league. So good to hear, and interesting, of course, that you're branching out now. Is there anything that you would like to say to any of the League of Legends fans out there?
Yeah. So I definitely want to say to anyone that has expectations or fans of mine, um, I really want to get better and try to like showcase to try to be a special AD carry. Unfortunately, it might be hard on my team because rest of my teammates perform well. So I'm like making suboptimal decisions or trying to like do random things. But when the time comes, I'll always be there to carry if it need be.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Tactical. Looking forward to seeing your performance over the course of this year. I really appreciate you taking the time for the interview. Everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things League of Legends right here on my YouTube channel. Did you know that Alienware actually gives me a ton of free reign to say how I want to promote their products? and allows me to make really unique outros. And so I'm going to just say, by the way, you can go check out their stuff in the description, but I think they would not mind if I just took a little bit of a different tack this time and said, thank you to Alienware, but also, why don't you go, if you enjoyed this interview, tweet at the player that was in it and say something nice about something that you thought was interesting, or maybe something you've enjoyed about their play recently, because I think in the space that we are all in, sometimes it's a lot easier to criticize than to praise, and I don't know if people realize how nice it is to sometimes just see a nice message from somebody. So again, if you enjoyed this interview or there was something that you thought was quite fun about it, go ahead and hit up the player and let them know. I'm sure they'd appreciate hearing you say that. Let's just go hit them up on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere else.